Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Just to give you a window into my little world after a long day, and I start early. I try to be done somewhere around 5 or 6 o'clock, at least at the office. I'll go home, have dinner, and then I break out the laptop. I've always got something to tinker on, always got something to work on. But 5, 6 o'clock when I get home, I like to cook. I find it relaxing to be able to cook. I like to wash dishes, simple little things like that. Again, I find it relaxing. But what I like to do while I cook is I like to watch TV. I like to watch YouTube videos. I don't really binge shows or anything like that. I like to watch various types of shows. Some are news, some get a little political. I enjoy the science shows. I enjoy little comedy sketches. I like to catch up or see what the movie trailers are out there that are coming, and you can have a compilation of, hey, this was coming this winter, this fall, or whatever. You can sit and you watch those. And I also like watching shows involving police officers. They're all wearing body cam now, and they're just various shows of somebody who's fishing where they're not supposed to be fishing, or somebody doing something that they shouldn't be doing, police questioning somebody, pulling somebody over, and the body cam stuff all came right after the George Floyd incident. There was a big resistance on wearing body cam, mainly from the police unions, and then they started to realize, well, you know what, there's really a push for this. Why not? And I really think that body cams, the body camera for police officers, certainly can help them. What I notice is that, and maybe the only things I see are the curated ones, but police officers they seem to be on their best behavior. Very polite. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. They'll walk people through. This is what's going to happen. I have to take you in. I have to arrest you. And they try not to be violent. And I just think it makes them better for that, if you will, knowing that somebody's watching, that there's a record of this. How I'm encountering with somebody. Very similar to when you get onto a sales call, somebody's calling you, or you're calling customer service, I guess is the better example, and they just let you know on the front end, for quality control purposes, this call is being recorded. Why is it being recorded? Because they want to be able to review that recording in case there's something bad, but also to coach the person who is the customer service rep, coach them on how they should have handled something that didn't go the way it should have gone. And that way it's, you don't have a he said, she said. So there's a lot of, when it comes to police officers, they know that somebody's watching, and so they tend to be on better behavior. Now, that's not to say that somebody's not going to do something horribly stupid, because you know what? We from time to time do horribly stupid things. And you know what? There are good police officers and there are bad police officers, and there's honest police officers and there's dishonest police officers. There are polite ones and there are rude ones, just like there are good attorneys and bad attorneys, polite attorneys, rude attorneys, honest attorneys, insert whatever. Any category out there gets the full spectrum of sort of people. So body camera tends to make people behave in a better way. It's kind of like having company at your house. You have company at your house. I have company at my house. I'm not walking around in that ratty old T-shirt. And I'm not dressed up necessarily either, but I just put a better foot forward, right? Body cam has people put a better foot forward, helps people put a better foot forward. Um, and it's, that might fly in the face of a couple quotes out there. John Wooden's attributed to saying, the true test of a man's character is what he does when nobody's watching. Well, the true test of a police officer or anybody is when nobody's watching. Or C.S. Lewis said, integrity is doing the right thing even though no one is watching. Well, we should be doing the right thing all the time. But here's the thing. What if as you interacted with people in your network, you had body cam on? How would that change how you interacted? It might improve it. Now, I'm not advocating wearing body cam, but what I am advocating is maybe pretending that you are. Maybe pretending that the world is watching you. Yes, true. Maybe the true test of your character is how you behave when nobody is watching. But what if you assumed everybody was? What if you assumed that this next 10 minutes, this next interaction was caught on tape? What if you assumed that next cold call was caught on tape? How would you behave? Would you behave differently? You probably would. Now, is there anything wrong with that? No, I don't think there's anything wrong with people trying to be a better version of themselves. If you think about it, in reality, there are cameras everywhere. There really are. And my wife and I, we get up early, we walk the dog, and dog's crapping in people's yards, and we pick up after our dog. But we joke about it. It's like, yeah, there's a Ring camera there. I mean, there are Ring cameras everywhere. There are cameras. I see people doing some of these videos shows people doing dumb things in the Walmart parking lot or whatever parking lot, and they got cameras everywhere. The cameras are cheap. Hanging onto the footage is not horribly expensive. The price keeps coming down on those sorts of things. So cameras are everywhere. So somebody really is always watching, and maybe not. But even when that's not happening, what if you conducted yourself that way? What if you conducted yourself that this is going to be the next Hollywood blockbuster and everybody's going to see it? And that interaction is, that interaction's going to be a measure of who you are. I can think of a lot of interactions I would love to have back, and I'm thankful that they're not recorded, or maybe they are. But they tend to haunt me because I never know when I'm going to run into that person again in a different circumstance. Somebody cold calling me. I mean, it's annoying. I mean, it's totally annoying. I totally get it. But as much as it is annoying, there's another person on the end of that, on the end of the call. How are you going to behave? Certainly if you're responding to somebody typing, it's there's a record of that. And is that the record you want to be a reflection of your brand, of how you expose yourself to the world? Because the world is connected to your network, and how you come across, when you think nobody's watching, is going to impact you. So I think a great way to tackle this is just imagine that everybody's watching. Lights, camera, action, all the time. I am on. Somebody's going to hear this podcast. Somebody's going to see whatever. Somebody's going to see how I treat my dog. Somebody's going to see how I treat family. Somebody's going to see how I treat that total stranger. And they may or they may not. But if we just kind of assume that that's going to happen, I think we put a better version of ourselves forth. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have issues. And it doesn't mean that we should judge people by their worst moments. Oh man, I hope not, because I've had some bad moments. And I'll continue to have bad moments. Hopefully not consistently, but I'm only human. I make mistakes. We all do. But if we just take on the persona that, you know what, I got a body cam on, and this interaction, this is going to be caught on tape. Other people are going to see this. I think we put forth a better version of ourselves. And then that better version of ourselves ultimately helps us to have a better brand, to be a better person, and looked upon by our network.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.